Welcome to the SENDcast. My name is Dale Pickles, Managing Director of B Squared and the host of the SENDcast, the podcast for special educational needs and disability. And every week on the podcast, we talk about a different topic to help improve our knowledge, to provide support to professionals in schools and to empower parents. In a world where there's less guidance, less money, more demand and continual changes, teachers, SENCOs, leaders, in reality, all staff in schools need a way to keep up that fits in with their lives, and the SENDcast is that answer. In this episode, we discussed equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging with my guest, Dr Susie Nyman. Susie is one of our regulars on the podcast and has just retired from being the curriculum manager at the sixth form college. I think she's about a week into her retirement, so probably lost on what to do, or, knowing Susie, extremely busy and singing. Susie is a master of multi-sensory teaching and spends lots of time sharing that knowledge. The SENDcast is created and produced by us here at B Squared. As well as our assessment products and our evidence and parental engagement platform, we run online training sessions that we call SENDcast sessions. And if you go to the SENDcast website, you'll see there's a range of over 150 training sessions. And these sessions often feature the same guests that we have on the podcasts, but are more formal, with slides that you can download. And we run 9 live sessions each year, which you can join in and be part of that Q&A at the end. And we also run 2 free SEND briefings every year, so you can keep up to date with all the changes in the world of SEND. And you really need to keep out for the one coming later this year with the white paper, the inspection changes and everything. Lots to discuss. And you can find out more about our training sessions and our free SEND briefings by going to the SENDcast website. Now, let's get on with that podcast. In this week's show, we're discussing equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging. And my guest is Dr Susie Nyman, the curriculum manager at the sixth form college in Farnborough. She has recently received a Pearson Lifetime Achievement Award for 29 years service at the college and was nominated by the DFE to attend a garden party at Buckingham Palace. Very lovely. Susie is an international speaker, podcaster, obviously, exam board moderator and CPD trainer, and she shares her knowledge and experience about multi-sensory teaching and working with SEND students. Welcome back, Susie.
Thank you very much, Dale.
You are very, 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 very welcome as always. And before we get started, this episode is going out at the end of July. And at the time of this being released, you will have officially retired as a classroom teacher. So what are you going to do with your free time? What are you going to do?
Dale, I am not going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning with the birds, but I will still continue working with Blooming Marvellous on a Monday with the people with mental health issues in the allotments in Aldershot and Farnborough. I'll be helping to lead health walks with the conservation volunteers. And I'm going to join the Normandy Therapy Garden to work with the boys on a Thursday, which will be really nice. And I'll continue doing my talks, such as the TES show, and I've been invited back for the mental health show next year in Wales, in Cardiff.
So you're just basically just relaxing a little bit more.
Yes.
But still not stopping.
Yes.
Probably never stop.
But still doing the fun stuff, Dale. The fun stuff. And the beauty of continuing as a moderator is that you can go and visit centres around the South East region and the South West region, such as Weymouth. And then I can go for a nice trip to France afterwards because I'll have the time.
You won't have to rush back.
No.
That's nice. Okay, so equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging. Where do you want to start?
Well, I'd like to talk about equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging, and actually then talk about our students at the end and examples of how we use equality and diversity, inclusion, belonging with them. The reason why I want to talk about equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging is because I recently went up to Cambridge to OCR at the Triangle, and they were talking about equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging, and they said it's really hot on the agenda for Ofsted, particularly inclusion from September. So for OCR, equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging sits at the heart of their approach to inclusive education and is core to their purpose. And they define equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging, or EDIB, as equality. They work on the principle that everyone is treated in a fair and equal way and given the same opportunities. Diversity, they recognise that their community of learners and teachers consists of people with different identities and characteristics. Inclusion, they welcome everyone and they foster an environment where everyone is respected, celebrated, and their needs are actively championed. And we were talking with the IT team actually in Cambridge, saying how we could make the exam papers useful for people, for example, with visual impairment, having large font and what sort of font they're going to use. And they're bringing in digital exams and they're looking at how they're going to make those digital exams accessible for all students. Belonging, they want their learners and teachers to feel safe and accepted, regardless of their background or other characteristics, and they belong to both their school and the wider Cambridge communities.
Very nice. That's a lovely, I'm going to say blurb.
Yes, it's a bit of a blurb, isn't it? I just read it off, Dale. I thought it was quite useful, really. It
sets the tone, and it is. And a lot of schools have those sorts of things written out of this is what we believe. But it's always remembering is you don't just stick it in a document. You don't just stick it on a wall. You've got to use it. You've got to really believe it and kind of live it, those values.
You do. And what I'm going to talk about first of all is equality and equity, and how equality, everybody's sort of treated the same in a way, but equity in the diagram that they quite often use, you have 3 children on boxes looking over a fence, and equality, everybody's got the same box, where equity, the shorter person, has got a taller box. It reminds me of when we used to go and have ice creams with my granddad, and you say, which ice cream do you want? And when you're really young, you're looking up, you can't read the labels at all. And the ice cream man will say, what do you want? And I say, I don't know. And Grandad will say, well, you can always have you can have any ice cream you like, as long as it's a vanilla block with 2 wafers. Okay, so with Grandad, there was no equality because we just got that ice cream. But if it was equality, we would choose, lemonade sparkle. Do you remember those?
Yes.
One of those milk lollies. We'll have chosen whatever we liked. And that'd be brilliant. And if there was equality, the ice cream man might even come out and speak to us and show us what the different ice creams were on his display on the outside.
But that's the sort of thing it's that everyone, here is our offering, this is it. But some people need more support to be able to access it. And that's the equity part, isn't it? That additional bit. You can't just say, we've got this, it's available to everyone. It's like that person needs a little bit more support, or that person needs you adjusting it in this way. That's not, it doesn't always have to be a big adjustment, but it kind of just needs to happen, and it makes life fairer for everyone.
It does, and so much easier, and makes that child feel independent as well. So we're going to give you the definition of equality, definition of equity, a few statistics, the benefits of equality, the medical and social models of disability, the Equality Act examples, and resources. So that definition of equality, the Equality and Human Rights Commission, EHRC, states that equality is about ensuring that every individual has an equal opportunity to make the most of their lives and talent, and that no one should have poorer life chances because of the way they were born, where they come from, what they believe, or whether they have a disability. And, teaching at the Sixth Form College for 30 years, you've seen lots and lots of different students with different disabilities. One girl that I remember was a girl that was in a wheelchair, and she used to come in and sit by the door, and she only really had one arm, but she used to go rowing in the evening. I think she was probably the Cox, and she was full of life. She was absolutely brilliant. And she passed her driving test at 16 and got a car, used to drive herself to college. So, it's really good if they can join in and have an equal chance in life. So that definition of equality in health and social care, it's focused on individual access to health and social care and equal treatment. And if it was in a school, it would be access to that education environment, equal treatments for everyone, irrespective of their race, ethnicity, sex, gender, religion, social class, age, or any other difference. And so we welcome everybody coming into the college, and we have a very large study support department now with a lot of learning support assistants to sometimes individually help those students for the whole day whilst they're at college so that they can succeed. But they need to have the same rights, dignities and freedoms as others. They need to be treated as equals. But I think in that discussion, given an equal chance to do something, and they might have to have reasonable adjustments. Everyone has an equal opportunity in life, and the individual's human rights are set in law, and that's the Human Rights Act and the Equality Act.
That dignity that's a big one, because sometimes with the things around kind of everyone has to have the same, and we can't do that rule for you. Even some people end up having to fight, and when you're fighting, that's kind of that dignity can go away if it starts to get really personal, very emotional. You are taking away that person's dignity of actually that is their right to be able to do this. It's what they need, and prevent you taking it. And it's really important that when we are kind of thinking about can someone not do something, it's how are we impacting their dignity. It's a really important thing. It's not because I can't, I won't, I don't. It's the rules. It's actually what that person, how is it impacting them?
And how do they feel?
Yes.
And how can we make them feel better as well? And I know that would happen a lot. You would see a lot of that in special needs schools. I used to visit National Star College, and people there most of them were in electric wheelchairs. They might not be able to speak or go to the toilet themselves. And dignity was really important there for those students. So for equity is the principle that all people should be treated fairly and impartially in an unbiased way. It's not about everyone having the same wealth or power, but ensuring everyone has the same rights under the law. It also means that individuals should not be discriminated against. And it's based on moral right that individuals have the right to be treated with equality and equal chance. You might have a visually impaired student. They might have to have a large print version of your pack, for example. Don't make a fuss of it. Just make it, hand it out, put it in size 18 font rather than 12. And nobody even notices. Nobody is any the wiser. I had a student this year, actually, who's Chinese. And Julia from Scanning Pen sent me her lingo pen so that he could actually access my pack in English. So he would scan the word in English, convert it to Chinese. So actually I printed his packs out in size 18 font to leave him more space underneath to write the Chinese.
Wow. Technology is getting very clever, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, he could use Google Translate to translate the information. But to be able to be on a par with the other students, to be able to interact in the class. Now, that boy in the summer last year, he didn't pass his summer exam. I think he didn't understand the language. So when we went through the keywords of anatomy, he was writing them down in his book in Chinese, and it was amazing to see him flourish. And from a boy who was so quiet, came up to me before opening evening and said, "I'll help at open evening, and I'll do every night," because his confidence has increased. And I think it was from, listening and watching, seeing what he needed, and then helping him with his lingo pen.
And I think, yes, he could use Google Translate, but if he would have to have his laptop and he'd have to type it in, spell it all correctly as it's written down, and then it would translate it. So that's extra input. It's extra him focusing on that. Whereas that lingo pen just scans it.
He knows immediately what that information is about that he's supposed to be working on.
So he can focus much more on what's going on in the classroom and that learning.
You can't use a lingo pen in an exam, but you can use an exam reader pen in an exam. So he could have used that. We also suggested for him to use text help read and write. So it would translate it back for him. And if he wrote stuff back in English, he could hear it, which was really useful. So I started the year this year, and study support dished out all these individualised education plans. And some of them were as long as a piece of toilet roll. And I thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to remember all that? And why do they get special treatment? So I created this special document, and I called it All About Me. And I got the students to put their photo on it. And I asked them, what are your college subjects? How do they link together? What are your hobbies and interests? What's your future career, so that we can lead on to that path? Then what are your strengths and what are your challenges, and accessibility? Because it could be that they're already using text-help read and write. It might be they're already using computers for their exams. It might be they have extra time. And the last bit, I asked them how to support me to make me shine. Do you know the most common answer? Don't ask me a question in class.
It was out of doubt that is definitely the most current thing, is something about the current generation. Do not draw attention to me. Do not put me on the spot. Do not make me ask the questions. I'm not going to do any of that. Just leave me alone. And I kind of get it. I don't like being picked on, but there is a whole world where generally you are going to have to talk and interact with people, not necessarily always on your terms. So I'm kind of like, if you don't put them on the spot, but at the same time, they're going to go into a world where they might have to have those impromptu conversations with someone and have that conversation. Maybe when they don't want to, but they need to. So it's how do we learn that without,
Yeah, and it was really interesting finding out, what they did. Were they swimmers? Did they play sport? Were they into drama? And out of that, the students that I didn't know very well at all will come up to me and tell me a bit more about themselves. And then the ones that might have had mental health issues or medical problems. Can I go into your garden, please, and have a chat, Susie? Well, you know that garden, Dale, because you've been in there. And we'd go out and we'd have a chat, and you'd learn some really, really interesting things. So from the get-go, at the start of the year, you know everything about those students that you need to know, and you're not finding it out later on in the academic year, which is really useful. I've put in some statistics here because we're talking about equality and diversity, and race inequality statistics in, for example, the NHS and key findings. And that 21% of NHS staff are BME. There aren't that many, but we've had 56,715 more BME staff in the NHS than we had in 2017. It is increasing. They're saying that 30.3 experiencing harassment with BME in the workplace. So BME is an interesting one, but you've also got LGBTQI plus as well. You've got everything. You've got visually impaired, you've got physical disabilities and everything. And at the end of the day, you just have to fight. And if you have someone behind you to help you, brilliant. If you're hearing impaired, RNID. If you're visually impaired, RNIB, etc. Mind for mental health issues. And so get those charities and organisations behind you and give you advice.
Definitely.
If you feel you're being harassed or discriminated against. So what I think is interesting, the ethnic inequality statistics, where most people that sign up and enrol to Russell groups are white, 78.8%, Asians 10.9%, Black 3.3%, and then others, including 5.5%, they might be other mixed races, etc. So most white people are getting into Russell groups. Why is that? I don't know. Probably many reasons. But there's just some statistics there really to consider. But the benefits of equality reduces poverty. And I know that in this area, in Rushmore, particularly where we've got Farnborough and Aldershot, the home of the British Army, there is poverty here. We have lots of food banks. We want to reduce that poverty. We want healthier communities. It's going to lead to extending people's lives, reducing violence, improving their education, improving disability rights. You want to lead it to equity, and this is a human right, equality as well. Now, you can have the medical and social models of disability, but with a medical one, the person's disabled by the abnormalities and deficits in their body or brain, and they feel like they're broken, abnormal or damaged. And those disabled persons' impairments prevent them from functioning normally. They need caregivers, professionals to make decisions for them, and they're object of charity, and they receive that help. But we want that person to be independent, to be able to access their education, to make reasonable adjustments. But so the social model of health, the person is disabled by the environment and its physical, attitudinal, communication, and social barriers. Disabled people are normal, valid varieties of human beings and have equal rights and access to society just as they are. They have right to autonomy, choice, and free and informed consent in their own lives. But it's that person that's got to fight for that. They could just sit back and say, no, I can't be bothered.
I think getting the difference between the medical and the social model is really important. Understanding that, yes, that person has their needs and what will support them. But if you provide that and they have that support, then you can, not always, but you can reduce that disability. Yeah. There are people who are perfectly independent around their house. They can do everything themselves. Their house is set up for them perfectly. They can do absolutely everything. They go to an airport, can't do anything, or they really need a lot of support. So it's that sort of things. They're not always, I'm going to say, that disabled. I'm not sure that's the correct term. But it's the environment. And I think lots of people have got that idea in their head of they cannot do this. They cannot do this. It's like they can if we put this right support in. And if we have that support, if we make that person as independent as possible, providing them the support they need, they are going to be more successful. Their mental health will be improved. They will feel more included. They will offer more input. They'll be much more involved in what's going on rather than feeling like a burden because you haven't put the support in they need.
But I think you mentioned the airport. When I go to Heathrow, I go through accessibility. And in some airports, you go on golfing trolleys. There you walk and you're put in this special holding room, which is really nice because you get free magazines, glossy magazines, Harper's and Queen, whatever you like. So you just have a couple of those, thank you very much. There's a free water machine, there's toilets, and you'll get ushered to the aeroplane with guides, if you like, and they'll take you all the way there. And so it's really nice to have that. And I think if you have a disability and you're worried about going on the aeroplane, go through those accessibility channels, and they don't feel so nervous because they just lead the way.
But that's the sort of thing is, in that environment, you use that support. In college, you have support. At home, you have support. So with all of those things, you're not hugely disabled.
Yeah.
But it's small changes. And I would love the fact that I always think of when you hear accessibility, it's kind of like, so it's, to me, that should be a minor few, a minimal few people need that support. We should be able to provide as much of that support without needing it to be classed as, oh, you need extra support. You don't fit in with us. We want to reduce that. We want to make as much support as available as possible, that you don't have to go and get that extra support. That would be a lovely aim.
Yeah, that would be nice. So for equality, individuals are treated with equality. The government ensures that individuals are treated fairly in the setting through legislation. And the big legislation is the Equality Act. And the Equality Act is made up of lots and lots of other acts that existed before: Sex Discrimination Act, Race Relations Act, Disability Discrimination Act 2005, and the Human Rights Act. And it makes discrimination direct or indirect based on 9 protected characteristics, and that discrimination would be illegal. And those protected characteristics are age. So finding out, you can't really get promoted in a particular organisation because of your age, sex, only the men get the high positions in the job, your disability because you're hearing impaired or visually impaired, ethnicity, gender reassignment, religion or belief. I mean, I was amazed how many students have festivals that are Nepalese when we started. Oh, I can't come to your lesson tomorrow, I've got a festival. So I have festival put on the register, actually, because there were so many of them, but they don't seem to go to so many nowadays. Sexual orientation, marriage or civil partnerships, pregnancy and maternity leave, and how maternity leave, pregnancy and maternity leave, but maternity leave has increased. When I had maternity leave, I only had 3 months, now you get a year. So that's a good thing that's happened. So this Equality Act prohibits discrimination in education, employment, access to goods and services, and housing. It applies to shops, hotels, leisure facilities, GP surgeries, nurseries, hospitals, and care homes. And it's illegal to experience victimisation and harassment based on that protected characteristic. So you can't be victimised if you're autistic, for example, or harassed, because that's you. That's who you are.
But yeah, it's one of the things. There's the law, and there's people following it, and then there's people being held to account by it. And that is still, it's a very long, hard path, and it often can take money, which often isn't available, isn't there to make that fight. I was a video on my social medias I saw recently, and it was somebody in a wheelchair waiting to get off a train or get on a train, and the person at the train station wouldn't get the ramp because they hadn't booked it or something. Like, we're here, the train, can you just get that ramp? And it was just one of those things that were going, and there's that dignity. It was, we're just trying to get on a train, we're just going to have our day, but it became a fight. Now there's a video. Will it go anywhere? Probably not. Because to fight it and hold someone to account takes money, and that money isn't there.
So it's important to raise awareness, but you can't change attitudes. That's what it's all about. And that person might feel victimised, so treating that person unfairly, which is what you're talking about. And they might like to make a complaint or make a claim, but as you're saying, it might take more money to do that. And harassment, so unwanted bullying.
Yes.
So going on and on at that person, making it humiliating or intimidating, and you find it offensive. You might have offensive emails, abuse. People might just keep saying things to you. Or you might see things on social media as well. So for those people who have those protected characteristics, we need to make reasonable adjustments. And it could be, for example, equipment. You might have a chair that needs to be specially made or bought because you've got a bad back, or something like that. Or computer software such as voice-activated software and screen readers. You might have JAWS, for example. You might have Dragon. Having emails in accessible formats such as an audio format. I used to walk around the office actually listening to my emails years ago when I used to use JAWS. Giving one-to-one support to help an individual with time management, scaffolding and breaking down set tasks. And obviously at college, we have individual students are supported by study support, and they'll do that with them. Providing specialist support such as a sign language interpreter, dyslexia support, or converting text into braille or large print. We did have a blind girl at college over 20 years ago who was blind, and we had a special technician who would convert her sociology text into braille, and she did really well.
We found out that if you can get ChatGPT to translate stuff.
Yes.
It can translate into braille. So you can get ChatGPT to translate into braille, and then there are these really cool braille printers, which are like screens where you kind of read it and it does the next line. You're reading like a section of the text and it moves. So you can actually take that from ChatGPT, put it into there, and they can read it digitally. And I love it. I love this technology. I love how what used to be probably an insane amount of work and an insane amount of time and lots of just so much work to be able to make that adaptation can be done so quickly and easily now. It's phenomenal. And we really are, with technology, removing those barriers.
Yeah, I know that RNIB books I'll mention later, you can download the PDF and then use Dolphin Easy Reader to read the PDF, or Text Help Read and Write. You can use that as well. So, yeah, people can access this information.
And it's important, if you are an employer listening to this, you have schemes like Access to Work, which means that there is support from the government around all of this adaptations that you can access.
And the company don't have to pay it all. The government pay a percentage. If they've got millions and millions in the bank, then they might have to pay a larger sum towards it. But a small company, then the government may pay more. But there's quite a backlog, I think, with the Access to Work applications at the moment. But it's there if you need it. But the barriers for this Equality Act, if they've got reading difficulties, they might just hide, I don't want to join in, I don't want to use that assistive technology. They might have slow processing speed in your class, and so you're giving oral instructions and they haven't got it at all. They might have anxiety and stress when you're testing for those access arrangements. They might have limited access to assistive technology. Now, I was lucky, as I said before, that Chinese boy was given that lingo pen so that he could access the information. But not everybody has that chance. And they might be given some assistive technology but don't know how to use it.
Yeah, there is a lot of training involved for the person themselves, but also those supporting them.
So, and sometimes people don't know what a reasonable adjustment is. What is it? What we're going to pay for? What will help you? And the barriers could be attitude. Do they really need that? Because they've never seen it before. And the knowledge, not really knowing what that person is entitled to. You might have broken equipment. We have automated doors at college and it might not work. So that poor disabled person can't get in the building unless someone opens the door for them. The time to get their assessment, the cost of an EHCP, the training, as we said before, the equipment, but limited funds. They might get the equipment, but they haven't given the training on how to use it. They might not understand the instruction, so an intellectual disability and lack of clear lines of responsibility. Who do I go to get this equipment? You need that system of redress. And a lot of students don't want to use different equipment because they don't want to be singled out and look different too.
And that's that part, that dignity part, that kind of, I want to fit in, I want to be the same as everyone else. I want to be accepted the same as everyone else.
Yeah.
Because once you start feeling different, you end up in that hole, there's a rabbit hole of, did they say well done because I've done a really good job? Or did they say well done because I've got a disability and therefore they're being nice to me? And it's actually not a good job, but they're being nice to me. And you can't work out what the correct answer is.
Yeah, I think what you want to do, if you have a disability, is to be able to compete on an even level, as Jack Churchill says, level the playing field.
Yes.
So that you're given the homework, and because you've got your pack in large print, because you've got a reader pen, because you've got Text Help Read and Write, you can get on with it. And you're not sitting there thinking, I can't do this.
You want to produce work which is similar to your peers.
Yeah.
And gets judged in the exact same way.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So examples of how we could use equality in class, individuals within the class are mixed appropriately with ability, needs, gender and culture. So you're going to mix them up so that all the people with visual impairment aren't all sitting together, so everybody's helping everybody else. Ensure the planned activity is accessible to the whole class in a variety of formats. So you might give oral instructions, you might have written instructions. You don't want a dyslexic student having to copy all the notes down from the board because they'll forget what they've seen before, they write it down. They can't remember it. They've got that processing short-term memory problem too sometimes. Use that multisensory teaching. Hello, we'll get some of that out later. Variety of learning teaching styles, and adapt and provide that support for those students with additional needs, whatever the needs are. Be aware of the assistive technology. And I've said to you before, RNB Bookshare, Calibre Audio, Dolphin Easy Reader, Text Help Read and Write. And what I do in my classes, we use voice typing. And that's in Google Docs. And in Microsoft, you can use Dictate and Read Aloud. So one of my students, midnight at the Oasis, mother comes upstairs, knocks on the door and says, "Who are you talking to in there? It's really late." She said, "I'm doing my voice typing. I'm voice typing my coursework because Susie showed me how to do it." And they could knock it out in no time, type up a page in 5 minutes. And then they get a sense of purpose. They're so pleased that they've finished their work and they can do it. Really brilliant. So it's nice. And then they can use that when they go to university. Now, Julia and Miles have written this book here. I'll put it in the cone of vision. Does that pick it up?
It picks it up.
Marvellous. Yep. The Nascent Assistive Technology Guide. And so that discusses lots and lots of different assistive technology. There you go. Now, what's important for the centres are the JCQ guidelines and access arrangements, making sure that student has got the correct access arrangements. And that professional judgment of the SENCO is essential in making that decision on centre decided access arrangements. JCQ can't make the decision. It's that SENCO that has to make that decision. And we have teachers that do the access arrangements at the start of the year at college so that the students have got that all in place at the start of the year. And anything that has come from the previous school, she'll then read through that and double check it with them to make sure they have what they are supposed to be having for their exam, what they're entitled to. Okay, I've written lots and lots of extra waffle in here, Dale. So the normal way of teaching plus the normal way of working is equity of access to testing, and it's a gateway to learning independence. A few years ago, Beverly Walters from the TSSEN show said, would I help with this whole school SEM platform that they were creating? And they were going to put it on Nascent. And we were looking at training individual teachers in SEND. So it's useful for schools to look at that platform, the whole school SEM platform, and it's free in Nascent. So that would be a good thing to look up. And also the SEND network, which is linked to the TES show again with Beverly. And what they do is they take the presenters' presentations from all the conferences and they store them on this SEND network. So if you join up, you can see all the previous presentations just for the cost of the annual fee for the school. Additional resources for equality, I said before, the RNIB Bookshare, there are over 1 million books that you can download. From there, you don't have to be visually impaired. That's the main reason why they have it, but it could be any other visual difficulties. It could be dyslexia, it could be dyspraxia, it could be ASD, it could be anything. So if that student is struggling, go to RNIB Bookshare, get an account and download the books for them. It really makes a difference. For visual impairment, there is the Thomas Pocklington Trust, which is in London, and they support students and they create impactful resources. They support them to learn how technology can supercharge their education. They put blind and partially sighted students at the heart of education, and they work with blind and partially sighted students to improve their knowledge and expertise so they can provide a more effective service. So this is near Euston Station. I've actually visited it. But to know that this charity exists and they can support those students later in life in their journey in education.
Going back to that kind of medical social model, is they're giving that person tools to support themselves. They're helping them understand where their difficulties are so they can support themselves. So it's kind of removing those barriers and helping them go, actually, when you go to work, kind of these are things that you need. So again, by making those adaptations, you're making that person more independent, you're giving them that confidence, you're giving them that dignity, and they can go and be more involved and be more successful in whatever they want to do with those adaptations, rather than, because that support isn't there, because they don't know what they need or how to access it or what's available, that's when they are really disabled, when that support is missing.
But I think because I know you go to these places, if you're autistic, go to the autism show.
Yes. It's now the Autism and ADHD show.
Oh, wow.
So it's
So
a
go to
double
that
winner.
and learn. You know, if you've got mental health, go to the mental health show. If you've got special needs, go to the TES SEND show in London in October. Learn from the horse's mouth. Learn from the people that are experts. We have Sight Village in London in November. I don't know about the deaf ones. But, you know, there's these exhibitions and conferences all over.
And lots of them now have not only kind of those experts talking, but actually they have people with lived experience. And that's always nice because it's someone like me, somebody going having the same journey, somebody might be further ahead.
Yes.
And actually, where are they? What's that journey looking like for them? What's made a difference for them? I've not thought of that. Give that a go. But it's nice kind of finding people you can relate to and understand you.
Yes. There's a group in Reading that get together. I actually taught the son of the lady that runs it. And she had a conference and got lots of speakers in. And people meet together with autism and have a chat, just like you said, about what it's like, you know, how you can navigate your life at that particular age. Because people get diagnosed at different times in their life, don't they, Dale?
They do.
Well, you know.
Yes.
Yes.
43.
43. Wow.
When someone says, I'm late diagnosed, and they're like 20, that's not late diagnosed. That's really early. But no, in reality, being diagnosed after school is late diagnosed, because being diagnosed during school would have helped you a lot more.
Yeah. So for diversity is about accepting everyone is different. We have the right to different views and opinions, and these must be respected. It's not about being politically correct or being a good in society. It's about creating social cohesion and harmony through challenging and changing people's attitudes towards different cultures. And you learn so much from different cultures. I learned so much from the Nepalese students, the Chinese, Catholic, the Jewish, the Muslim, everything. You learn so much about their culture. It's absolutely fascinating. So diversity encompasses recognising and respecting individual differences, and we're looking at faith, beliefs, race, customs and sexuality. And valuing diversity involves accepting and respecting differences by seeing everyone as a unique individual. At Dale, they call me unique.
You are unique.
So I'm not quite sure about that. I mean, they use the word quirky nowadays, don't they? I mean, they use eccentric, you know, when I was younger. But celebrate being different. Celebrate your talents, your skills, your talents. Be yourself. Because that's what it's all about. And that diversity has got to be recognised in different races, religions, cultural differences, gender and gender assignment, just the same as it was before in the Equality Act. And it should be recognised for individuals due to their language, their dress, their food, their music, the arts, their education, pregnancy and maternity and disability. And it's really interesting. I find this quite fascinating because I visit a school in Whitechapel. And I used to go to Whitechapel a lot when I was a child, and it was a Jewish community. And we used to go to Bloom's and have boiling chicken and Viennas and water ice. That disappeared. And I used to go to the London Hospital. And when I came out, Mum always took me, when we came out of the London Dental Hospital, to Kossoff's Bakers. Why she did this, I don't know. But we used to always have Jewish cheesecake and donuts. But then when you go to Whitechapel now, it's completely different. It's a very different community. Bengali, Muslim, Indian. I mean, it's just multicultural. And it's fascinating just to walk down the street and do people watching.
I love it. I love it. My favourite phrase is Ted Lasso's "Be curious, not judgmental." And some people go,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's changed. It's wrong."
No, it's
But
fascinating.
it's changed. Ooh, why is it changed? What is it now? What? And then learn and being curious about what is there now.
Yeah. I actually was supposed to visit there on a Thursday, but I changed it to a Friday. And it was great because the market was on and you see so much stuff, things that you would never see that they're selling there. It's absolutely amazing. I love going there. Is there anywhere that you go, Dale, that it's so different now?
I grew up in Croydon,
Oh,
and I had not been back to Croydon because no one lives there anymore. My family's all moved away and all that. So I've never had a reason to go back. But at Christmas, I was like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to
your roots.
my roots where I used to go clubbing and all of that.
Oh,
And it was, and people, there's a couple of people I've known on Facebook how it's really gone downhill and blah, blah, blah. And I went back and it was very different.
mm,
But I loved it. Where there was a really big market,
yeah,
that's kind of disappeared. But actually, there's now lots more shops selling the fruit and veg. So rather than being a
yeah,
market stall, there's actually a proper shop. And the amount of fruit and veg and different food, cooked, uncooked, ready, whatever,
yeah,
it was phenomenal. And yeah, the shopping centre was a lot quieter.
yeah.
It was, the old Whitgift Centre was absolutely dead. It was shocking. But other parts were just really buzzy. It was quite nice. But it had changed a lot. Roads are the same, looks the same, feels the same, but completely different.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. And so very diverse neighbourhoods nowadays in different places, particularly in London. And for diversity, individual service providers need to manage those differences. Often effects are of majority groups, not minorities. And to create that culture where different and minority groups can find expression to express themselves the way they are. Everyone is unique, apparently, Dale. We are all unique and respect and value differences and uphold civil rights. And the benefits of understanding that diversity is empowerment, empowering that student to tell you all about Nepal, independence, independently being able to access the information from the textbook, inclusion, feeling part and being included in that class. And many years ago, the Nepalese all sat together, maybe at the back, and they all were a separate group. But now they all mix in a lot better with one another. Respect those different cultures, respect the dress they're wearing. Dignity, that's one of your words there, Dale. Equal opportunity, access and participation in all activities. Yeah, we actually had a culture day recently, and so it's really lovely seeing the students dressing up in their national costume. And I love going up to them and saying, I really think your dress looks really, really nice. And they go, oh, thank you, And just for one day, they're being themselves.
I was a couple of months ago, I went down to your village.
Oh, yes, the Village
Down the
Hotel.
village.
Well, we've just had a very nice breakfast. Thank you very much with the team.
I'm a governor of a school in Farnborough, and there was some mayoral banquet feast or
Yeah.
something, and that was very multicultural. The music,
wow.
and it was a really cool evening.
Really
it was
buzzing.
really fun, and it was really inclusive. So I think, there was a lot of people from Ghana.
Yeah.
So that was music going on, but they were like, everyone come and join in. Not like this is us.
Yeah.
Be part of this. We're all together.
Yeah. It's nice.
And the food was great. It was it was a really good evening.
I shared a flat in Newcastle when I was doing my PhD. And in there were people from Italy, Greece, China, also Zimbabwe. And one evening I was cooking liver and onions, and my friend from the Chinese lady, she was cooking, I think it was barbecue chicken wings or something that smelt far better than my liver and onions. And I went to the oven, and I went to pull out the dish out the oven, and do you know what? It slipped out my hand and smashed on the floor. my goodness. She said to me, Susie, you'll have to share my chicken wings with me. And I went, oh, great. Do you know, in some ways I just thought, I'm so pleased that dish smashed. I shouldn't think that, But it was so lovely to share her wonderful homemade Chinese chicken wings with her that evening.
I can't believe you chose to eat liver. That's just amazing.
I think my mum and dad used to cook it, liver and onions, baby boomer and all that. I'm a bit older than you, Dale.
Yeah,
That's
my mum used to just go, why? I get it. After the war, you ate everything from that animal. You ate everything.
Yeah.
But come on, we're in the 80s now. We shouldn't be still eating this stuff.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't know. That was it. So, nice dinner that evening. And moving on swiftly to inclusion. Inclusion's about the act of or state of including or being included within a group or structure. I don't know if you've ever been to a new group that you're going to join, and there's the in crowd and there's the out crowd, and you feel a bit out of it. And it takes a while, doesn't it, before you really get accepted. But for education, it includes everyone with able-bodied and disabled people, along with those with special educational needs, learning together in mainstream schools, colleges and universities. It doesn't matter. Everybody can learn together. We've got to adapt to help those disabled people. They shouldn't have to adapt to our system. And we've got to recognise that it creates barriers for disabled learners, for instance, if part of the schools are inaccessible, or disabled students might require adaptation and support to access their curriculum. I remember college spending £100,000 on putting lifts in every single building so that any disabled student could come and learn at the college and study. And again, it needs to be recognised for any individual due to their race, religion, cultural differences, gender and gender assignment, sexuality, age, family structure, marriage and civil partnership, or social class, etc. And those students should be themselves and be included. Have a sense of belonging. And if they feel a sense of belonging, they're going to come to lessons. Enable others to understand their differences. Engage in all activities. Feel everyone is valued. You've got to be really careful of not selecting individuals or favourites in your class, and have social rights too. And those benefits of understanding that inclusion is that they feel supported. At the end of this academic year, when Beverly and I both retire together, so many students have written to us and say, thank you very much for supporting us and feeling valued. Understood, understanding the way they tick, doing that all about me exercise at the start of the year, then I do understand where they're coming from. Understanding I can't be at your lesson at 9 o'clock because I need to drop my brother and sister off at school in the morning. That they matter. They all matter. That they belong. You have clear expectations. You can't keep changing the goalposts. They don't like that. Students like routine. Identifying their learning needs. Communicate with them their learning needs. And that they have to be motivated and confident to participate. If you haven't explained well enough what they've got to do, they don't feel confident to participate in that activity at all.
Inclusion is one of those funny words, because I think when you're in a school, inclusion is including those with SEN.
Yes.
But outside of school, inclusion is include everyone. And it's, I think one of the things, the whole thing is the rules are the same. It's include everyone. And that's the heart of inclusion with SEN. It's include everyone. Everyone should feel valued. Everyone's got something to input. We listen to everyone and we make sure that that environment supports everyone.
Yeah, and that it's SEND and also disadvantaged students feeling included too. They might not be able to buy the textbook, but having the access fund to be able to buy that book for them. Or if you even find out that they're dyslexic and they're disadvantaged, then you'll download that again from the RNIB Bookshare for them. And so, yeah, making sure that they feel that they matter is so important, I think, for these students. those statistics, the HCP plans, we've got 434,354 pupils in schools in 2023. I mean, that's a lot, and it's increasing, isn't it? These EHCP plans. I've got an example of inclusion here, which are actually based on people I know. Elizabeth's a wheelchair user. She wishes to attend the rowing club, as I said before, after school, so the accessible minibus collects her later. Ben has dyslexia, so he can study the book in class with the other students. The teachers provide him with a PDF of the textbook in Arial font, on green paper, and an audio book if he's struggling to read the text. Olive is hearing impaired. That was Auntie Olive. She used to phone on Sunday. Hello, it's Olive here. She's hearing impaired and communicates using sign language. Her teachers, teaching assistants and classmates learn sign language too to communicate more easily with her. Sorry, I just had to break into Auntie Olive. The old dog walkers in Oxfordshire, they used to love a nice Auntie Olive on a Friday evening. The students like it as well on a Friday afternoon with the puppets. We'll get those out later. Okay. So I hope those are good examples of inclusion.
They are. It's just look at the person who's in front of you. What do they need? And half the time, what they need doesn't really cost anything. A lot of the time, it's accessible transport picks her up later.
Yeah.
There's no cost involved in that. It's just moving time.
Yeah.
Printing sums out. That's not really a huge thing. It's a little bit of extra effort, but it's a small difference which makes a big impact.
Yes, that's what it's all about. Now, I was talking about EDIB when we were considering this quite a while ago. I was talking to the principal. She reckoned that belonging was most important. Because for belonging, it's about the extent to which learners feel personally accepted, respected, included and supported by others in the school or college social environment. In education, belonging includes relationships with peers, teachers, other adults. Positive teacher and student interactions are essential to kindness and fairness. Fundamentally foster a sense of connection. In addition, students value individual support and opportunities to share positive experiences. And I think that sense of belonging is really interesting to link to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you have the physiological needs at the bottom, then safety, then love and belonging, esteem needs, and self-actualization at the top. And it's interesting to see how that student doesn't often want to feel a sense of belonging to the group, particularly if they haven't eaten. Their physiological needs aren't met. They might not feel safe. They might not feel safe at home. They might not feel safe on their journey into college. They have to have good belonging needs there, a sense of belonging to the class, because if they don't, they're not going to come in. And good esteem needs and eventually reach that self-actualization. I had a student a few years ago who was really difficult in the first year. And in the second year, I was chipping away. And she was the last one to finish. And I said to her, "You're really bright. Why don't you finish?" And she said, "I feel safe in here, Susie. I don't want to go. I want to be here as long as I can because I'm really worried about the next stage, going to university and all the support she might need." So that was quite interesting.
We like our certainty, don't we? We like to know it's safe here. I'll be here. I'll stay here. I'm not sure what the next bit looks like.
Yeah, students like emotionally stable adults that they can talk to because they might not be emotionally stable at home. For those belonging statistics, we have financially disadvantaged students. We have an Inspire programme at college to help those students. So examples of these, we might have 90 out of 4,000 have free school meals, 7 in care, 95 have bursaries, pupil premium, 187. So we have a particular group there that we nurture to help them, and they do better nationally than other students who are disadvantaged, which is good. They need to have that sense of belonging. And the benefits of belonging is they have a higher attendance. My bingo girl had 8% attendance last year. I encouraged her to join my dyslexia club class on a Thursday morning, even though she didn't have dyslexia. She felt a sense of belonging in that group. Her attendance went up to 92%. She was in that category where she could have been asked to leave. But she was a vulnerable student. We kept her on. And that's one of my biggest successes, to change her attitude. And she would stomp and turn up late and, oh, do you want another chat in my garden? Go in the garden, let off another bit of steam, off we go again. Go back in. And it's taken 9 months to calm her down. And she then comes in and works. It's amazing. Really nice to see. Improved test scores, motivated, engaged, emotional well-being, social harmony, not fighting against everybody, not coming in late or whatever, and a sense of security. That is the biggest one with the belonging. Actually, a big sense of security. And for this belonging, we have clubs, and in college, we have clubs and societies. Study support, they've actually created a lunch club where the students in study support go there and have lunch. They do group work, they'll find a classroom and work together. Peer mentoring relationships, might do a bit of volunteering, might see one another in their tutor group. Extracurricular activities, they might do debating club or something like that. Mental health and well-being. And that's school climate and safety. So locally here we have, for teachers, we have a conference where we share good practice. We have Freshers Week, Culture Day. We have Donut Day. Very nice. Wear It Pink Day, Getting Ready Day, Staff and Student Wellbeing Gardens, Work Experience Volunteering. We have a training, employment and apprenticeship fair where students can find something that they want to go and do. They're not all going to go to university. We have a Community Matters Partnership project linking the business and communities together. And we work with local associations, for example, Dyslexia Association, the Helen Arkell Centre as well. But nationally, in the past, we've done National Citizenship Service. We have Moving On Day where we have university coming in. Maths Challenge, sports teams, young carers, Mental Health Awareness Day, a STEM week. And the teachers get together in something called the Wessex Group. But globally, we've had the Ghana link in the past, taking students over to Ghana and building schools there, trips to New York, France, Italy and Germany. I've done the BDA and Dyslexia Show webinars. We've also done SENDcast and podcast as well. Mental Health and Wellbeing Show, empowering students with mental health. And then I do stuff with Ochre Books. But overall, that's the equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging. It's good in every lesson to make sure that you're aware of what equality, what diversity, that you're including every student and they feel a belonging, sense of belonging in the class. Because from OCR, they say that for equality, we work on the principle that everyone is treated in a fair and equal way and given the same opportunities. Diversity, they recognise that our community of learners and teachers consists of people with different identities and characteristics. Inclusion, they welcome everyone and foster an environment where everyone is respected, celebrated, and their needs are actively championed. And belonging, they want the learners and teachers to feel safe and accepted regardless of their background or characteristics, and they belong to both their school and the wider Cambridge communities. But this is the bit that's going to be exciting, Dale, because we're going to talk about our and I've brought my friends here today, the puppets.
Before we go, I just want to say to me what that belonging part is, because you talked about the equality and the equity.
Yeah.
You talked about diversity and you talked about inclusion.
Yeah.
If you get those three right, that is what creates the belonging. You can't create the belonging. The belonging is the end result.
It is. Yeah.
If children do not feel they belong in your school, go visit the first three. You can't just create belonging out of nowhere. You create it by being that equal, that equity. You're being inclusive. You're supporting and encouraging and celebrating diversity. If you are doing all of that, then everyone will feel accepted and they will feel they belong. You can't just create belonging on its own
No.
by making a uniform policy. You all look the same, therefore that's belonging. No, it's not.
No.
It's a feeling.
It is. And they feel a sense of worth. And they want to come to college because they feel like they belong in that club.
And my favourite thing about inclusion is people ask for a definition. And it's not what you do, it's how that person feels. You could do all these things, but if you are doing it in a way that you're letting them know you're doing extra for them, then you're basically making them feel like they're a hindrance. It should be done in a way that they feel included.
Yeah.
And that's the bit, it's how they feel. And that then creates that belonging.
And that it's not a bolt on. It's just naturally there, those reasonable adjustments you're making for them.
Yes, definitely. So let's get on to your students.
Well, we guide our students on their tightrope education. It's a bit like students on their tightrope walk. They come in, they have their phone, stroking their phone, cup of coffee, light Daleks, only have a cup of coffee, and their bag, which is actually a designer bag quite often. And they come in and they sit down. You can tell in the first minute how they're feeling just by the way they sit. And they might have difficulty learning because they're homesick, for example, Nepalese students, low confidence, dyslexia, ASD, ASC, fixed mindset. No, I can't do that. Or toxic stress. Because they've had a fight on the bus, they've lost their homework, the dog's eaten their homework, or various excuses that you've heard over the years. But as I said to you before, you need to get them to tell you all about them so you're aware. And looking at that student iceberg where you want them to do really, really well, but underneath that iceberg, they might have difficulty with finance, sleeping, hours of practice, their musical instrument. They might be good at sport. And so they might be spending a lot of their time, representing the county or even the country. And they also, they might be looking after a relative or a friend. That might be the reason why they're not succeeding. So it's digging there, chipping away, finding out what they're like. And in the past, I've taught GCSE students and also A-level students, and they're all really more or less the same. And what's interesting is teaching billionaires and millionaires and teaching the poorest of the poor. It doesn't make any difference. They all want to be listened to, and they want you to be kind.
They want to feel included.
They want to feel included. Oh, hello, we've got a few here. Here is Plain Jane. She actually looks like this in my PowerPoint, doesn't she? Nice yellow hair. Now, some students don't wish to use colour, but write their own notes with a black pen and white paper. No, I am not using colour pens or colour paper. They might have photographic memory. They might use the waste paper dip bin method and write it loads and loads of times and then throw it in the bin. Then you may have...
I love that doll. We had that. These are from the Puppet Company, aren't they?
They are my favourite.
And we had that one with my daughters, and we used to have so much fun doing the same sort of stuff with my kids were young. Loved it.
I've only had one of these, but you've met her before, Dale.
I have.
She is Notebook Nora. She's a secret notebook writer who watches every move you make and tries to trip you up on some scientific terminology or biological process. Hello, here we have... There are too many friends in the house today. Okay, I'm just going to leave that on there. We have Freddie Thorne. Now, he's very cheeky because he'll do that with his tongue. He's a thorn in your side. This boy loves chatting up the girls because difficulty decoding, understanding the task. It's a smoke screen because he just can't fathom out what to do. Now, sometimes I can't read the book and ask others in the class about the information, so encourage study buddies. Get Notebook Nora to help him. You might even use a scanning pen discreetly to access the information. Okay. Now, here we have. Boom.
Susie never travels light. Never.
This is Motivated Margaret. She makes copious notes. She writes so much information, but never consolidates it, and hope that one day some of the information she's written would be useful. She could type it up, or she could even use AI. You were mentioning that earlier, Ardale. Or even text out read and write to help us summarise the important information and make it less complex. Strenuous spicy. Oh my goodness. Strenuous spicy. I think we might have to use Mrs. Patel for strenuous spicy. Only so we have a different friend coming out. Okay, here is strenuous spicy. A fiery sort of student who goes off the handle easily and has ADHD and dyslexia. A solution is to speak to her and find out what her difficulties is. Give her sizable chunks and find the colour background that suits her. I found it was actually green. Now, this is a very weird conversation I'm going to have with you. So I went to the hairdressers and I took my jumper off, and you hang it up on the coat hanger. And this girl gives me the look. And the hairdresser goes, here's so-and-so. I'll call her Wendy for now. I said, she's going to wash your hair. I said, hello. I know you. I taught you 10 years ago. And she went, oh my goodness, yes, you did. You're the spicy. I said, I can't believe it's you here. And I said, I've spoken about you all over the world. And she goes, oh, have you? I said, oh, yes. She said, I'm going to go and tell my mum. I've never given her name away, but I know she is. And she knows who she is as well. And it was quite weird to meet her. And she gave me that same look she gave me all those years ago when she was being difficult in class. Cheeky Christopher. Oh, my goodness. Here's Cheeky Christopher. But this is actually Ricky. His name's Ricky. Little Chinese student. Just charming. Does very little work because he's unable to access the information. English is second language. He has difficulty translating English to Chinese. So we used the lingo pen or even Google Translate. We have Guarded Grace. She's coming back in fashion here, Dale. Well, I couldn't bring all 30 of them in the car today, could I?
I love the fact that these puppets don't sit at Susie's home. They are in her classroom in college.
Yes. So Guarded Grace was interesting. She had a secret. She was visually impaired, had difficulty processing information. She didn't tell the teacher and was often behind with her work. She used size 18 font for typing up her work, so her textbook could be downloaded from the RNIB Bookshare. And she could use magnification software such as ZoomText, Dolphin Supernova, and also use voice-activated software and screen readers, such as Dictate and Read Aloud in Microsoft Word. Now, this was a real one. This was Memory Mary. I'm sorry, but Mrs. Patel has to make another. She's back in the show. Short-term memory. Very poor. She only remembers 5% of what you said. Bite-sized chunks. Might use a mini whiteboard to help her with information by the computer. But if she hasn't finished by the end, she can take a photo of that information and use multi-sensory techniques. Bye-bye, Mrs. Patel. I think we're near the end, Dale. Cool, Colin. Oh, here we go. This Ricky is back in the house. There we go. Cool, Colin. Cool, calm boy. Great in class. Top. Has tons of ideas. but can't write them down. So he's dyslexic. He could learn to touch, type his notes, do use voice activator software, could use Dictate. But Colin could actually make widget storyboards to remember geography landforms or history dates. And I will talk about that one later. Here's our friend here again. It is. She's showcased herself many times today. It is Joyous Jenny. Joyous Jenny, a student who works extremely hard. She's reliable. She can apply her information to health and social care because she wants to be a nurse. She will see the big picture to remember information and apply facts to case study scenarios, use past experiences, hobbies, or even her life events. And then our last one, who we've had before, and we used in our inclusive learner cocktails, Dale. We did, was, and I didn't bring them today. There's only so much you can put in the case. Harry headphones. He's trying to be liked by the others. He's got ASC and finds it difficult to socialise in college. It's important to listen to Harry and give him lots of advice, praise and encouragement. It's useful for the teacher to speak to Harry about his trendy smart car. If he's having a bad day because he's so proud he's passed his driving test, it makes him feel empowered and valued. Now, all I have to say to you now, Dale, is try listening to some more interesting characters from the SENDcast podcast. Inclusive Learner Cocktails with Dale, Susie and Percy Pig. But make sure with your students you empower, motivate and inspire them. Use the person-centered approach. See the individual as an individual. Focus on their personal needs, wants and goals and aspirations. So today, Dale, it's been a long morning. We have spoken about equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging, and some of our favourite students.
And just about that belonging, it's so much more important people realise. It's so important because that is going to impact your attendance. It's going to impact outcomes. It's going to impact so many things. And to work on those, equality, inclusion and diversity. And it's not just that inclusion in terms of the SEN, it's that wider, everyone is included. So very important. As always, it's been an absolute whirlwind. I like the fact that we had to have 3 people help you with all the stuff from your car this morning.
Why not? Yeah.
We'll be putting links to more from Susie in the show notes, as we always do, and also be sharing Susie's contact details. And you find the show notes on our website or wherever you listen to the podcast. So thank you for listening today. If you haven't subscribed already, click on that subscribe button, and you'll find links to subscribe on all the different podcast platforms on our website. If you want to get in touch, let us know your thoughts, suggest topics or anything else, please message us on social media or send an email to hello@thesendcast.com. And if you've enjoyed the SENDcast, why not look into SENDcast Sessions, our online CPD that you can purchase for your school. Each session is £10, but it is yours forever. So you can build up a library of CPD around SEND that everyone in your school can access. And we have now about 150 or so sessions. We also run free SEND briefings twice a year designed to help everyone keep up to date with all the changes going in the world of SEND. So head over to the SENDcast website to find out more about our SENDcast sessions. And as always, you'll find a link in the show notes as well. So thank you for listening. We'll be back soon with another episode of the SENDcast. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me and Percy Pig, because we are going to crack them open in the next podcast.
We will.
Yeah, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.